He wants to destroy us. Bolsonaro poses gravest threat in decades, Amazon tribes say. Indigenous leaders who say Brazil's new president is trying to force them from their lands are braced for a new era of ruin.
Here's a summary of the article.
For all Jair Bolsonaro's well-documented hostility to indigenous rights, an aerial assault on the Amazon seems far-fetched. Campaigners believe that under Brazil's new administration indigenous communities face their most severe threat since military rulers bulldozed highways through the region nearly 5 decades ago, leaving behind a trail of death and environmental destruction. Not since the dictatorship have we lived through such a tough moment, said Jaime Siqueira, the head of the Indigenous Work Center, a Brazilian NGO supporting indigenous communities fighting to defend their lands. Uatan Marubo, a leader from the Javari Valley Indigenous Territory, an almost Portugal-sized hinterland sheltering Brazil's largest concentration of uncontacted tribes, said its 6,000 inhabitants were bracing for a new era of ruin. The forest isn't just for us indigenous, he said. Cristina Larine, an Atalaya-based activist for the Indigenous Missionary Council, said Javari's tribes were facing an intensifying assault from loggers, cattle ranchers, hunters, fishermen and wildcat gold miners, as well as oil companies over the border in Peru. During a meeting with foreign journalists last week, Bolsonaro defended his desire to develop indigenous reserves, warned the international community against meddling in the Amazon, and painted himself as a champion of indigenous people who no longer wanted to live like prehistoric men with no access to technology, science, information, and the wonders of modernity.
This post received a score of 4,681, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
The military junta has committed open mass murder against the indigenous population. It's no wonder one of the biggest defenders shows similar disregard.
Bolsonaro is a threat to the world and to the future of humanity.
Brazil is definitely a culprit for damaging the environment global-wise, but proportionally they do not make up for a lot of the emissions and pollution around the world. Targeting mainly China and the US in that regard would be more efficient. While you're certainly right about emissions and pollution, the deforestation of the Amazon also poses an enormous threat to the planet.
I want to second this as well. Yes, they are not major contributors to emissions. Certainly, they have some. They are potentially doing something equally as bad. They are removing the CO2 sink that is the rainforest. Doing so could topple civilizations across the globe indirectly through a tipping point of extreme heat, weather events. We cannot allow anyone to have that kind of control. We will need to do everything we can to prevent this, whatever that may be.
Honestly, my opinion is if the rainforest is that important the world over, that maybe countries need to chip into Brazil with some cash to preserve it. I don't really blame a bunch of people for trying to make a living, and if forestry is the thing that feeds their families, I know I would do it too. Maybe if the rest of the world paid Brazil, those people could have an easier time transitioning to other ventures. I really don't have any answers as to how that would work though, and I don't think I'll ever have to worry about climate change in my life beyond maybe having to start using sunscreen, so I also am not invested in the issue.
Theme for the first part of the 21st century. Fascist shithead enacts horrible policies he explicitly said he was going to. Dumbasses who voted for him genuinely shocked.
I'm Brazilian. We are ashamed of our president. Please do not hate us.
Yeah. Most disliked president in a long time. 33% approval. Like, yeah, still too much support for a dude like him, but at least 2/3 of us aren't lunatics.
Quite impressive that he got 55.7% of the votes with only 33% approval.
People really hate the opposing party. Riding that wave was half his platform. Hell, more than half. Thing is, for most sane people you can't keep saying, "enemy of my enemy," when said enemy is slain.
To what degree have the revelations about Operation Car Wash impacted feelings about Lula and his party on the ground in Brazil? I've seen it said Lula would have won were he allowed to run. What do you think?
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.